losing to, I believe, FLP. So it's like, are they really the best team? And same thing, you go for Cloud9, for example. Well, Cloud9 for sure, best team, or at least arguably top 2, right? Well, they didn't even make it here. So and you got OTK as well, kind of on that bubble. So I feel like the competition is definitely really high here in NA, and on any given week, either of these teams can just show up and really give it a run for their money. And we haven't really seen that in Europe that often. Like maybe aside from Oldness Strike or Creed, really, there hasn't really been anybody able to even touch skill capture method in Europe. Whereas here, it's you see, Hamsters and Hares, pretty new team. You see so many of these kind of fairly new teams showing up.
Yeah, well, we're going to see who shows up today in this series. Is Golden Guardians going to be able to take Method NA, or are they going to win the second series in a row against these guys?
Well, the Rogue Mage Paladin makes sense in terms of comfort here on the side of Golden Guardians, but I would think that Method NA get the advantage here. Having the Warrior intervene is just so powerful to stabilize the Mage during a kidney shot, and all of the extra disruption like Disarm and Stormbolt really shuts down the damage, and you can just kind of drag the fight on. But Peekaboo is going to begin the engagement with a cheap shot. WizK unable to find a Polymorph, though. Drake disrupts it with a Spell Reflect now into a Stormbolt, catching him in that Spear of Bastion. Tons of damage onto WizK. I love that combo, Meteor and Spear of Bastion, to pin the Mage inside of it. WizK's trying to blink in aggressively to get a Polymorph, and now turning it around on Cerulean with a Meteor of his own, popping with that Combustion, but getting Spell stolen on it with that Kleptomania. Now falling behind, Drake leaps in. WizK's on the run. Dragon's Breath on Drake, trying to stall. Frost Nova on Drake. Drake in a Blade Storm, and look to reconnect. Both Paladins out of crowd control. Actually, Absterge going in for a Hammer of Justice onto Brain. Cerulean could be in a bit of trouble, popping the Mirror Images to try and recover and reduce some damage. His Brain is crowd controlled by Absterge, spamming Polymorphs on Peekaboo. Peekaboo managing to land a Sap out of the Blinding Light there. Nice play by Peekaboo. That gets a Blessing of Protection out of the way, but not a Medallion. They would have liked to have gotten a Medallion. WizK taking some damage here, trying to pull Drake behind the pillar into a Frost Nova. But Drake, he's playing the Warrior tactically here. He's not zug-zugging his cooldowns. He saves Avatar and he saves Bladestorm to get out of these Frost Novas.
Peekaboo goes for the blind. He gets the trinket. He was trying to sap the trinket or cheap shot the trinket on Brain, but unfortunately not able to find it. And it looks like Method NA will stabilize as a result. But honestly, Golden Guardians so far, they've got great pressure in this game. WizK has been doing a good job kiting away from Drake and avoiding a bunch of damage. As soon as I say that, though, a massive meteor lands on WizK, and Drake will connect. And that will be Absterge forced to trade out the sacrifice. And he is taking a huge hit of damage. Mana relatively even for both of these healers at this point. WizK finds a full Ring of Frost, looking for a Dragon's Breath Sheep. Beautiful setup, but it gets denied. Cerulean playing defense for his Paladin. Shuts down that crowd control and prevents the Golden Guardians from getting a go. And now Method NA is going to be looking to set up crowd control of their own. But Absterge preemptively crossing the map and actually going down for a drink. This is huge, but WizK is going to get punished. Hammer of Justice out of the Stormbolt. They get the Cauterize, they get the Ice Walk. Absterge didn't get any mana. So definitely some miscommunication there by Golden Guardians, and Method NA fully capitalizing on that situation.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be going for a drink like that when your team doesn't have that much pressure. So WizK just went for the setup there, and Cerulean was able to stop him. Well, that means WizK is going to be under a lot of pressure now because he just blinked in aggressively, and they didn't get the CC. So they're not going to have... Ooh, here, nice sheep shot here. It's going to be enough just with the sheep shot. Peekaboo was there for the restun. Not able to find it. Cerulean gets the Klepto off as well. And big heal coming in here from Brain. He uses the Divine Sacrifice there actually on Cerulean, so he's able to keep him alive. But yeah, that was a big defensive miscommunication there by Absterge and WizK. You definitely want to go for those drinks in this matchup, but you want to do it when you have crowd control. And when you have a sheep on Brain, you have a Nova on Drake or something, and Cerulean is pinned down in a kidney shot, like this would be where Brain is drinking right now. This is a pretty decent situation to be drinking in. His team has pressure, and the other team is kind of scared, so Brain is going to be able to drink and basically get full mana here, whereas in the middle of a push like that, you can't really go for drinks if you're Absterge. So you're not going to have that Ice Block, you're not going to have Cauterize, and no sacrifice for Absterge for another 10 seconds, but he's going to have that back up soon. The big story, though, is no trinket. The next sheep that lands could be right now, actually. It could be the Divine Shield here from Absterge. WizK uses the Alter Time here. He needs to be careful so he doesn't get purged off. Peekaboo assisting him with the sheep shot, but WizK misses the Ring of Frost. Very unfortunate there. Oh, he might just go down here. Sacrifice trades out there by Absterge, and that's the Divine Shield. So that that was the final cooldown there for Golden Guardians, and Method NA has got them by the throat.
Yeah, that Ring of Frost missing is the final nail in the coffin here. They need to try and close this out, but they've got no damage. Here comes the Spear of Bastion. Does Australium have a Meteor to combo in it? Drake moves over for a Fear onto Absturge, looking to close the game. Ring of Frost, Poly on Peekaboo, WizK's on the run, but they're likely to proc the seed here. He's trying to Vulpin Shapeshift, caught into the Storable, intervene, reflect onto the incoming crowd control to try and stay aggressive. Hammers are down, no way to escape. Pod procced and popped. Method NA take game 1 in a dominant fashion.
Yeah, just a beautiful game from them. Solid defense overall while maintaining that offense. Slight mana lead. And honestly, Method NA, they just did a really good job capitalizing on the little situations that presented themselves in that match. Like, for example, when Absurge went to get a drink, getting the Cauterize, getting the Ice Walk was just a massive turn of momentum. And Method NA, I would say, coming out of the gate swinging in this game 1.
Certainly did. They're going to be up 1-0 already in this best of 5 series. Looking strong right now here. Golden Guardians going to have to figure something out here going into game number 2, but we can see how that all happened for game number 1.
So this is a pretty high value combustion here by Seralium, and WizK does recover here with the bubble of Absters. Now they're going for the CC chain and get a Hammer of Justice onto Brain into a Blinding Light, but nice War Banner there by Drake. Kind of shuts down the setup. There's the Spear of Bastion, and Seralium is just going for Sheep here onto Peekaboo, Fear onto Absters, and then they swap it they follow it up with a Ring of Frost, and at that point it's just GG. Just a really nice setup there, and honestly, the only one who could have even done anything at this point is Peekaboo. Maybe if he trinketed out of that Sheep to stop the Ring of Frost or something, but maybe he thought that they still had a little bit more defense left there on the Mage or the Paladin. But yeah, that was a pretty dominating performance there from Method NA, and they're going to take game at number 1 as a result.
Yeah, tough opponent for anyone facing this team. Method NA, just super consistent. They always are super strong on this composition in here. And Golden Guardians, every time we see them face them, just don't have a solid answer yet. But do you kind of want to see them try this composition once again, Supatees, or do you think they need to switch something up?
I mean, if they're just going comfort, there's 2 routes. They either go back to the Shadow Priest Rogue, but I don't think that's going to do much better. I really think it's time to put Jelly in. Like, time to get Jelly off the bench and put him in either on Warrior or Ellie. You're going to be playing some alts, but you're going to have to, I think, eventually, at some point. Are you just going to sit and pray that Rogue Hunter ends up being a good comp again? It's just like, I guess you could if you wanted to, but I feel like Jelly should have at least a Warrior and Ellie for his roster ready to go.
Do you think they've practiced firearms at all?
I think so. I know because I asked Jelly to play with his Warrior on the ladder because he made one. Yeah. It's possible that they don't want to play it because it's triple alt. It's WizK Mage, Absurge Paladin, and Jellybean's Warrior. That's probably the main reason that they don't want to do it. And they think by having Peekaboo on the main, it'll be enough to sort of guide them if one of them is kind of like uncertain about a situation. That's the logic that I would think for the situation. But I feel like they're all competent players. Like having that like fear of playing in alt is kind of not necessary in this situation. And if you never face it, right? If you never go and say, okay, I'm going to play a Warrior, that's like, we need a Warrior on our team at some point, but we're just never going to do it because we're too afraid that we're playing triple alt, then you're never going to do it. So I don't know. I would much rather they use this series and try and enable Jellybeans more.
Well, if Jellybeans has a Warrior, why don't they just play Warrior, Shadow Priest, Shaman? Then they have 2 mains and 1 alt. And that's something we saw Reload play in Europe with pretty good success, right?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if the Warrior Mage Paladin would beat you. Warrior Mage Paladin's really hard at the moment. I feel it's like...
That's the comp. I mean, to be honest, I listened to Absurge's stream, and he was saying this is the composition that just always beats them. It's like, oh, in the upper bracket, we lose to Warrior Mage Paladin. Going down to the lower bracket, lose to Warrior Mage Paladin. If we win, we play against a different Warrior Mage Paladin. And I don't know how good their spirits are right now, because it seems like this
sounds positive.
Specific composition is really rough for them. And I mean, they could, you're right, they could bring in Jellybeans, and they could just go for a straight-up mirror. But I would say, you know, Method NA, I mean, if you're just following the scene and looking at the ladder, Method NA and OTK in particular, those 2 teams they play Mage Paladin mirrors like 100 times a day or something like that. Whenever I'm watching, it's always just those two teams playing against each other, just getting better and better at the matchup. So that can be pretty intimidating going in on triple alts against a team that has like 800 plus matches against another best team. It's just daunting, but I'm kind of going with Sid at this point where I feel like they've tried this with the Rogue. It hasn't worked out. I mean, maybe they could figure something out, but it just doesn't seem like this is one of those matchups that goes their way. So at least try it. I would like to see them bring in Jelly Beans. Just try out the mirror match. They'll probably lose in all honesty, but at least kind of see where that gets you.
Yeah, I feel like the practice for it would be valuable anyways. Like if they already feel like this isn't a match that they can do, then maybe that's just the best use of their time here in this series. But they're going to be locking in shortly. Got about a minute left. We are going to be going to Ashmane's Fall as well. So maybe, I don't know, does that give us any insight, Zico, into what they've got planned here?
I think we're going to see Rogue Mage Paladin again, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there it is.
Look at that.
I don't mind seeing more Rogue Mage Paladin because that first game, I mean, let's be honest, it wasn't that great of a game, and I think this is this is an Assassination Rogue. Oh my God, not again.
It was in game one.
It was last
game. It was in game one too. Yeah.
They only play Assassination.
They only play Asa.
Wait, what? How did I miss that?
You know what? You know what's really crazy about this though is there's another part of me that doesn't mind them just playing this matchup. Even like if they lose, at least they're getting a little bit of practice on it. And I think Assassination Rogues are going to be really strong with some of the changes coming. So going to circuit play, this could be one of those matchups that completely gets turned on its head for the Golden Guardians.
What changes are we seeing that is going to make this comp better for them, for Golden Guardians?
It's rogue buffs, honestly.
I think they could play Shadow Priest Rogue on Tuesday. With Shadow Resistance Aura going away on Paladin and Peekaboo, it's uncertain right now because they're doing a massive buff to Necrolord and Venthyr for Rogue. It's like 300% increased damage on Bone Spike and 270% increased damage on Flagellation. Like those, when I see a number that big, I'm thinking like, is this thing going to hit as hard as Divine Toll? Like maybe it won't. Maybe the number is so small that 300% doesn't do anything, but it seems like those covenants could open up some options for rogues after Echoing Reprimand was nerfed. So Asa, maybe a Necrolord Asa or a Venthyr Asa rogue with a Shadow Priest with no more Shadow Resist Aura. They could do really well in 9.0.5 as a result of that. So maybe it doesn't matter if they don't get their Warrior Mage Paladin going with the patch changes that are coming through.
I mean, ultimately, the goal of these cups, right, is to make it into that circuit play. And if you're looking good in the circuit play, then that's obviously super beneficial. So we'll see. I mean, even when we look at these matchups, it doesn't seem unwinnable for Golden Guardians. Peekaboo is doing relatively the same damage as Drake. I would say he maybe provides a little bit less defense than the Warrior, but still good crowd control, good lockdown, and it could just be slight changes to their damage that puts them ahead in this matchup. So definitely have to wait and see. But for now, we'll see what the Golden Guardians can get done. Peekaboo going to be moving in on Stealth. Cerulean likely to be the main target in this match, just really trying to limit what he can do. WizK now going for a Polymorph. They managed to get it. Great setup. Garrote on Cerulean. Hammer of Justice on Drake. Dragon's Breath Sheep on Brain. Golden Guardians looking to get fancy early on, but the Intervene just completely shuts down that damage, and Cerulean's going to be fine.
So this is another reason why Night Fae is just the best covenant in the game, in the world, and it always has been. So when you're silenced as a Night Fae, you can use your Soul Shape, and that's exactly what Cerulean did there to kind of mess up that opener. He got Garrote silenced, and he just teleported with his Soul Shape while he was in that Garrote silence, and that's why he didn't actually get kidney shot without there being a little bit of a gap there, and that allowed Drake also to get that Intervene off and completely ruin the opener here. But there's still a lot of pressure here from Golden Guardians. You got a full blind here onto Brain. Where's the sap? Peekaboo gets denied with that Dragon's Breath. WizK gets denied as well, but he does get a Sheep here, Cerulean, onto Absterge, so WizK needs to be kind of a little bit scared right now, just run for his life. Drake gets Nobad. Bladestorm's out of that one. Absterge in a repoly. WizK thinks the damage is over, but there's still more. Cauterize and Block is going to be forced here, and those are definitely things you don't want to see there. I definitely think Abster should have just trinketed that DR poly and maybe went for a sacrifice there instead. Now they're not going to have those two massive defensive cooldowns there to work with from Whiskey. And they get the blind, they get the sap here onto Brain, but Brain actually sitting through the crowd control, and they don't force out anything. No trinket from Ceralium, no trinket from Brain, so big lead right now for Method NA, and Brain is looking to extend it even further, trying to get that Hammer of Justice here. That's it.
Well, let's see if he can get it. It could just be the end of the game if they don't respond appropriately. Abster's pre-sacrificing, but he's taking a huge amount of redirected damage. All that damage on Abster is coming from his own sacrifice. He's trying to stabilize both targets, but they're burning down their cooldowns quite rapidly. There's not really any openings. Vendetta not available for 2 minutes, no blind. Their only option is a smoke bomb, but I think Drake still has every man for himself here to get out of his stun. Drake's just leaping in to close this game out. They're going to use a Blessed Protection. That gets stripped off. Whiskey is isolated, caught in a Storm Bolt. Huge damage incoming. Abster's Divine Shields and Divine Tolls to get Whiskey back into the fight here. But once again, another push, another cooldown. They're slightly ahead on mana. They're ahead on momentum. Peekaboo's just not finding... I mean, Peekaboo's been left alone with Ceralium right now. He's just not able to do any damage to the mage by himself on this Assassination Rogue. And there's no way that Whiskey is getting to Brain to find polymorphs with the way Drake is playing. They're going to stun Drake behind the pillar and try and burst him down in a Hammer of Justice. Interesting play. They do get a die by the sword. That was a cheeky adaptation by the Golden Guardians. At least gives them an opening.
Yeah, a little bit of an opening there, but Drake kind of shrugs that one off. Honestly, I guess without the die by the sword, could be vulnerable, but they're looking to reverse the pressure. Whiskey right now into a Blinding Light. Triple Blinding Light going out there by Brain. Great crowd control. Absurd, really not too many cooldowns left to work with. He's got the Gladiator's Medallion, but Whiskey's still vulnerable in this match. No Ice Block for another 2 minutes. Doing a good job is Peekaboo getting lots of stuns out. Stun on Ceralium, stun on Drake, into a Dragon's Breath. Whiskey just trying to hold on as Absurd is in crowd control. Now full blind on Brain. Ceralium getting interrupted as they look to reverse the pressure. Brain, I don't know what happened to the blind, but looks like it will be breaking. I'm not sure if he traded the Blessing of Protection or what, but he did not have to trade that trinket. And now it's going to be Whiz-K. Smoke Bomb does drop down. Peekaboo just in desperation trying to take down Drake. He make a huge swap. Can they keep him alive? Sacrifice trades by Brain. And these warrior swaps are appearing to work out very well here for the Golden Guardians. Peekaboo now going to be using his Vendetta, continuing to get this aggression. Whiz-K using his Soul Shape to just try to get away. Drake whiffs his Spear of Bastion, so that's going to allow Whiz-K to kite a little bit more in this matchup. Let's see if he can survive much longer.
Oh, very nice stuff there. And that was Brain's trinket. Mana is looking actually in favor of Golden Guardians right now. Whiskey needs to try to find a polymorph here onto Brain. He keeps kind of wasting his blinks here and not really getting distance from Drake and not getting CC with him. He needs to try to get a little bit better with those blinks, and he gets shut down here on the Ring of Frost. There's the Blinding Light. Can he get the sheep here is the question. He goes in, he blinks, he gets it. Full sheep secured. Ceralium might need to trade his Ice Block here. There's the Intervene. Big damage coming out. There's the Rallying Cry as well from Drake. They shut down the Repolymorph. There's the Dragon's Breath. Do we have anything more? Whiskey going for the Aura Mastery, Ring of Frost. There's the Divine Favor as well coming out from Brain. Ceralium still very low here on HP. Gets the Blessing of Protection, and that's going to allow him to land his own sheep right here. Now they're swapping over onto Drake here. Very nice swap here from the Golden Guardians. So much damage coming out here from the Assassination Rogue and the Fire Mage. And look at Brain's mana. He has no mana left. He's on low HP here as well. Cooldowns, though, in favor of Method and NA.
2 seconds away from an Ice Block here on Whiz-K. Mana is actually even between the teams, which is very surprising. The strategy adaptation by the Golden Guardians to go after the Warrior during some kidney shots has actually allowed them an opportunity to still win this game on Ashamane's Fall. Peekaboo getting crowd controlled at the moment by Ceralium. Ceralium likely to get on top of Absterge here, maybe even close out the game. He's got no way to escape crowd control, but they do have an Ice Block. Can they stop the Shattering Throw? Whiz-K's desperate. He's trying to blink away with the Ring of Frost, gets charged, pummeled, but the crowd control isn't stopped. Ceralium gets the full polymorph. Peekaboo needs to try and help out here. He's attacking Drake, trying to scare Drake away. Drake's just going to pop down by the sword and keep pursuing and force the block. Shatter off the block. Fake casts the Shattering Throw. Now a Stormbolt to follow up. Dragon's Breath on the healer. Nobody can help. I think they're going to proc the pod here. Whiz-K blinks into the pod. Do they have anything to trade? No, they immediately scramble it. Method NA go to match points, but the Golden Guardians are showing potential.
That matchup was a lot better. I like those swaps onto the Warrior with the Smoke Bomb. If he ever overextends behind the pillar, I think those are great adaptations coming in from the Golden Guardians. And at this point, I really don't blame them for continuing to try out this composition. That was an incredibly close game. When you look at Brain, he's got no sacrifice. He's got no cooldowns whatsoever. Now into a full blind. Golden Guardians were actually quite close to winning this game. I mean, if Whiz-K had survived that setup, you can see he has Cauterize available as well. So just a few moments away from that. They're going to continue to play it out, but I feel like there's almost no way Peekaboo is going to be able to set up kill in the situation. He is going to forfeit. But what a close game that was. Method NA, they take the game, but that one was much more convincing in favor of Golden Guardian than the last one.
Yeah, they're definitely looking much more comfortable in this composition with this matchup here, but Method NA now on match point. They're very, very close to sending Golden Guardians out of the tournament. Looking solid for them so far. Golden Guardians, like you guys have already said, so close to being able to potentially take some games off of these guys, so we'll have to see what they do for game number 3. But here's that last death.
Okay, so I want to see Whiskey when he blocks. Is there any way he could have held it a little bit? Because you always want to block those stuns if possible. So here, he blinks, he gets a little bit this. Here's the kidney shot that he needs. Here, in my opinion, just go for the sheep onto Brain and then just run. Okay, so he gets the sheep and he's running. And here, he can just keep lining. Yeah. So he kind of, I don't know, I guess he kind of had to block there, but yeah. If you block there, like if you block without getting stunned first, it's just a nightmare. You always want to like block off the stun if possible, because if you get stunned as soon as you leave your block, that's a really bad situation to be in, and you always want to try to prevent that from happening kind of before it happens if you are the mage. So I don't know if Whiskey could have actually just ran a little bit more there. Maybe it wasn't even necessary to go for the poly out of that stun on the healer. I think he, out of that Dragon's Breath, he could have literally just Dragon's Breath and use that defensive kidney on the warrior to just get more distance and try to win on mana. But yeah, I think this was like you guys already mentioned, a much more convincing game from the Golden Guardians, and I think the strategy of just drag the warrior away and attack him, and just let Peekaboo kind of 1v1 the mage. I think that's the play if you are the Golden Guardians.
I mean, this is, I feel like, really good news. You guys are talking about this, you know, before the last game, the changes that we're going to be seeing with Assassination. Like, if they're this close now, and you know, who knows how they would be if they could practice this even more against these guys, have even more games against Method NA. But considering how close they are now, and the fact that this is like pre-buffs for this class, I feel like this is a really good thing for these guys heading into the Circuit Series event.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, already so close, like you mentioned. Even just the smallest changes could put it in their favor. So I feel like for the Golden Guardians, the fact that they have this composition, they're making it work. And honestly, WizK doing a great job on his mage. And I think Golden Guardians overall have they become so much more of a well-rounded team. If Shadow Priest Rogue is great, or, you know, Shadow Priest Hunter or Rogue Hunter is great, that's fantastic for them. But they've really shown that they can kind of adapt to the meta, with Jellybeans playing more than just his Hunter, the Elemental Shaman, as well as the Warrior. WizK picking up the Mage. We've seen it on Warlock as well. And of course, Peekaboo always styling on that Rogue. The occasional Windwalker Monk, but I just like how much this team has kind of evolved, and even making these games this close. I mean, like I mentioned, Method NA, they're so experienced in this matchup. Maybe the most experienced team in these particular matchups, and Golden Guardians is really making them work for these wins. So I think that's a great sign for their team.
Yeah, definitely agree. And yeah, kudos to them as well for branching out, trying new classes, you know, especially with WizK, because he's definitely being utilized here on that Fire Mage. So, you know, regardless of what happens here in this next game, I am excited for this team and what we're going to see from them after this next patch. But game number 3 here, I feel like, you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Zico, but I feel like we're going to see Golden Guardians locking in that same composition.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Like, if you look at it from a logical perspective, then yes. But if you look at it from a Golden Guardians perspective, this is Jellybean's last chance here to well, potentially, because they're on match point, right, in the lower bracket. I feel like this is Jellybean's last chance to kind of go in and show that he's on the team. So maybe we'll see Jellybeans come in with like a BM Hunter or something. But yeah, most likely the Golden Guardians are just going to run Rogue Mage and try to do an even better job and try to get at least one win like that. Nope, they are going to go for their mains, Shadow Priest Rogue Shaman.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Could work.
Okay. Yeah, Super Tees, what does this match look like?
The Shadow Priest is not going to have too great of a time. There's a lot of interrupts, a lot of stuns. There's Shadow Resistance Aura, reducing your dot damage. I wonder if he'll play Mind Bomb. So usually when you're playing with a rogue, you like playing Mind Bomb because rogues can sap out of it. But it's usually a sub. So as Asa, maybe... I still feel like you're going to have to play Mind Bomb, or you have no crowd control. So you're going to silence Mind Bomb the Paladin, and then kidney shot the mage, spam purge the mage maybe, or go after warrior, hex mage, go after warrior, maybe attack mage, swap warrior like they did with mage rogue, play the same strat as they did as mage rogue but as Shadow Priest Shaman. Having double purge is nice. It makes the mage a lot better to kill. So it really just depends on if they can do enough damage in a small amount of crowd control, because really it's only Mind Bomb that they have other than Blind, which Brain can trade more often than not for. So can they win in that little 45-second window with Mind Bomb or not is the question.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. Teams are getting ready right now, loaded up into the game. Zico, do you feel like this is a better matchup for Golden Guardians now that they're back on, their comfort picks, or do you feel like they should have stuck with the first composition we saw from them?
I think they should have just brought in Jellybeans and just let him show himself, one last time. That's what I think. Because I mean, let's be honest, they wouldn't have locked in, essentially a double alt comp if over their mains if they thought it was a good matchup. So I think they know that this is one of those situations where you're picking comfort over meta, which it happens a lot with the Golden Guardians, but it's not an unwinnable matchup, but definitely going to be an uphill battle for them. And I'm always a big believer in Jellybeans. So if we could have seen Jellybeans, that would have been great. But yeah,
we
not
still
gonna happen.
could. We still maybe could. They could win this next game, and then they decide to bring him out for game number 4.
There's
It
no
could
way.
happen.
I
Sound like
win
it
for
could happen,
sure.
kid. It could happen.
There's no way they win this game, and then they're like, you know what? Let's bring in Jellybeans to play some Thug now that we actually won.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. If they get some momentum going on this, they'll probably want to keep that going. But yeah, it's that's kind of the unfortunate thing with Golden Guardians. We all love Jellybeans. We all love to see him play, but they just don't have a large amount of compositions, then, especially in this current meta, that really work with his strengths, on Hunter at least.
Well, it's kind of the story with Hunter where the only thing they're good with is a Feral Druid right now.
Yeah.
Like, jungle is the only composition I think that Hunters really have that can work. I think Rogue Hunter sometimes is good, but it's just not good into Warriors and Paladins in particular. And Paladins and Warriors are, they happen to be pretty popular right now, so that Thug Cleave not going to be looking too good. So eventually, if we do see, the Hunter compositions be strong again, I think Jellybeans really will be a huge asset to their team. And even him playing Warrior, I know he's been practicing the Elemental Shaman as well. I feel like I'd like to just see, if I could throw any criticism towards Golden Guardians, it would just be like incorporate Jellybeans more, put more practice time into, some of the compositions that they have available with what he's practicing, then maybe they could utilize that. But Golden Guardians right now, I would say in this particular patch, it's not exactly their meta. Like they're forced to play alts in order to succeed, and they're doing a good job at it. But like I said, come Tuesday, this could be all of a sudden exactly what Golden Guardians needed, and this composition that they're running right now could potentially be one of the best in the game.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that next patch. It's, Golden Guardians, incredible team, but right now the meta is just in Method NA's favor. Not like that's all that they're good for. Method NA, super competitive team, super consistent team, but Arms Warrior Fire Mage is just a really, really hot composition right now. But Golden Guardians can be going back to their mains here, so maybe they can pull something off going into this next game number 3. But if they lose this one, unfortunately, that's going to be it for them for Cup number 4. So keep an eye on these guys. I know that they're feeling the pressure right now because they don't want to go home just yet. These teams are trying to get into the top 8 for their region to go into the Circuit Series. And this next game, is the last chance that these guys have, and all eyes are on them right now. It's game number 3 on Tigers Peak. Golden Guardians, one last chance to stay in this tournament. It's Method NA on match point.
I'm worried. I mean, this is the story arc for the Golden Guardians. They like just going down 2-0 and then switching to their main comp and then playing these insane 10-minute games where they have nothing left the entire time. And you're just like, what is happening? And then they turn it around and win. Actually. So, like, I feel like this is just another episode. It's just you used to watch cartoons on Saturday morning, and now instead you try and watch the Golden Guardians play out their miracle story every Saturday morning in North America. Will they be able to make it work here? They've got their wheels. They've got their Hot Wheels. ready to make a move here in game number 3. Again, they could go after Warrior or Mage. I don't think Paladin is ever the target. I am wondering what they decide to do, if they're going to just spam Hex, maybe Absterge. Oh, is he playing... Are they all Night Fae, or is that a UI thing? Why is Absterge a Night Fae Shaman? Why is WizK a Night Fae Priest? Why are they Night Faes?
Don't ever question.
They're all Winter Queens.
Night Fae. That's because it's the best covenant.
I've never seen a Night Fae Shadow Priest. There's no way. Is he actually?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I'm looking at the update thing.
All right, well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see what happens in the opener, though. It looks like WizK will probably be the primary target in this match. WizK and Peekaboo going to be looking to set up damage all over the place. I mean, with the Shadow Priest and the Rogue, you can get pressure in multiple positions. But it looks like primarily they're just going to be going after Ceruleum, so not really opting for that Hex strategy. Dragon's Breath on Absurge. Ceruleum looking for a Polymorph. Actually gets the Interrupt on Absurge as he gets out of line of sight, and there will be no Polymorph to be found. Ceruleum in a Kidney Shot and a Smoke Bomb, potentially in a little trouble if they can get the Cauterize, but no, Ceruleum just going to tank out that damage for the time being. Brain's going to trade out the Sacrifice, and Method NA holds on, but that being said, Golden Guardian's doing a great job avoiding CC at this point. Ceruleum needs to try to position himself in. A full Intimidating Shout does land. Ceruleum looking for a Ring of Frost out of that. And now it's going to be WizK in potential trouble. Stormbolt shuts down the Master Spell, and this could easily be the Dispersion. And it is. And I would say WizK still in a little trouble. I mean, Polymorph still out onto Absurge. WizK has Drake all over him. Ceruleum uses his Combustion. Beautiful Fear there by WizK, shutting down at least a little bit of the damage. He's got the Fade, but it looks like Absurge now to crowd control should be able to top him off.
Yeah, not bad pressure so far, though, from the Golden Guardians. They got, actually, sorry, I'm going for a Polymorph here. He gets silenced on it by WizK, so that's going to be shut down. They got a decent amount of mana working in their favor, but as I said that, I think Brain actually sat down and just got himself a nice little tick. So mana definitely going to be the main win condition here for the Golden Guardians. And I just want to point out something that we were talking about yesterday. WizK is in fact a Goblin here and not a Panda. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about that.
There's also Bent here. I just want you to know.
Yeah, the UI is not up to date at the moment, but... We see a decent amount of damage onto WizK still with no Dispersion, and if they get any crowd control on Absterge, that could be a KO. Peekaboo's in a Polymorph around the corner. Ceruleum blinks in, trying to catch Absterge potentially on the Dispel, not finding it yet, but the pressure's still mounting. No Spirit Link for 8 seconds here, 7 seconds away. WizK down at half, Ceruleum goes for Frost Nova. They stun up Drake, they're going after the Warrior. Hex being casted onto the Mage. Like the cross crowd control here, unfortunately breaking to the damage over time effects, and now Absurge in a Polymorph Spear Bastion down on WizK. No Fade for 3 seconds. 1 second away from Dispersion, trying to buy time with Vampiric Embrace, and now going for a Fade. Catching a couple Shadow Mends here, and trinketing out of the Stormbolt, looking to recover. And it looks like he will stabilize, still holding on to the Dispersion for Sunlock later on. WizK jumps in with those rocket boots on that Goblin, gets the Psychic Scream. Brain has to trade a Blessing of Protection as a result. Cheeky plays by the Golden Guardians. They do have a pretty substantial mana advantage at this point. If they can maintain, I feel like there's potential here.
Yeah, definitely. At this point, mana not looking too bad. They've got good pressure, but at the same time, WizK gets deleted. All right, goodbye. Oh, they had the Trinket Spirit Link, just unexpected damage coming in with that Combustion. Method NA with their Warrior. Mage Paladin is going to kind of dominate the Golden Guardians in this series, but Golden Guardians definitely showing signs of life. I would say I really like their Rogue Mage Paladin. It looked good, and like I said, I mean, this is a composition that, you know, come Tuesday could go in their favor. So definitely need to still, you know, hang their heads high going into the series, because, I mean, normally we don't see Method NA in the lower bracket, and I feel like all these teams are very sad that Method NA is there kind of making their way through, and they're probably not too happy that they lost early on as well. So definitely difficult matchups, but really incredible performance